Tell that girl I'm gonna slaughter it.
Hey guys, so again, I'm gonna try to do this unedited, not because I'm perfect, but just because I don't know how to edit, so I'm trying to do it as least as possible while I'm learning. This is my new room. Hopefully this is where I'm gonna be able to record. Like I said in the last video, sometimes it might be communication videos, sometimes it might be, hey, I need to talk to you, sometimes it's vlogs, sometimes it's adventures. Hopefully at some point I would like to start streaming, so maybe some video games. But today the question is, do they seem distant? Or maybe you did something wrong, right? So for me, I think communication has 6 categories that are pretty much going to tell you exactly what's going on. So the first one is body language. When you walk up to them, are they walking away? Are they getting closer? Are they more at a distance, sideways? That's going to let you know how they feel about you, right? You don't know what you did without asking, but you can't just ask. Because I promise you, if someone came up to me and they said, what's wrong? And I obviously back up, like, take that as a sign, like, hey, maybe I don't want to talk right now, right? So all these categories are kind of going to intermingle, but we're going to go in order so we can kind of figure out what's going on. So since we're in body language, let's just say, right, scenario, you're walking up, they kind of get a little distant. Give them the space, right? Do not try to get closer, like, oh, let me move forward so I can hear what you're saying. Okay, I get it. You don't want me close to you. So once you're at that point, give them those 2-3 steps back. Now you're here. Number 2 is attitude, right? If you're talking to them and you're like, hey, like, how's your day going? And they're like, fine. Well, what are you up to? Nothing. Well, what's your plans for later? I don't know. Okay, well, that's attitude, right? They clearly don't want to talk to you. Understand that, right? At the end of the day, regardless of the little comma in the category, it's still communication, right? They're not willing to communicate with you. So you need to understand, like, hey, cool, maybe I just need to approach this a little bit differently, or maybe I need to back away, right? And that's completely up to you. You have 2 options, right? It's either you continue in the conversation or you see your way out of it. So now that comes to attention, right? Let's just say 2 steps back, they're giving you attitude. And now what? You feel like they're not really paying attention to you, right? So now you're like, why am I even talking to this person? But guess what? That's your brother, right? You love your brother. You were raised with your brother. That's your sister. You were raised with your sister. Or maybe that's your girlfriend or your boyfriend, right? So obviously you don't want to feel like that, which is where, or did I make a mistake come into play, right? Because now you start questioning yourself, well, what did I do? How did I affect them in a way where they're acting like this? And honestly, I think as humans, like, they want to act like the superhero, right? As soon as you see a problem, you want to fix it, right? Especially if it's someone that you love. You don't want to just sit back and be like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to talk to them. Why? Because that's just not how humans work. And I mean, if you are like that, it's probably because you've been hurt so many times and you've been rejected so many times. You're like, I'm not even going to attempt to do that, right? But let's just say you're the superhero, right? Sometimes you need to understand, hey, I need to back up, right? They're not paying attention to me. That's fine. And I think that's where communication is finally kind of come into play, right? You already saw their body language. They're clearly not wanting to be close to you. Their attitude clearly is not there, right? They're being rude. They're saying things, maybe a backhanded comment. Now their attention, they're in a completely different world, right? So now that brings us to 4, communication in the right way. I think that you really need to sit down with yourself and figure out, who is this person, right? And you should know them, you know, because if you're in this situation, obviously you're close to them, and obviously it hurts to see the way that they are, right? The way that they're acting, or maybe how they feel, right, from a distance. So if you know this person does not like altercations, do not come up to them in front of people, right? And that's just in general. Do not make them feel like they're being attacked. Always make them feel like they're being safe. Like, hey man, can we go talk real quick? Or hey, do you think that you want to hang out? That's the perfect thing, right? Food is always a good solution for everything, unless you got an eating disorder. But that's beyond the point. Anyways, ask them to go get some coffee, to go get a soda at the vending machine. As little as getting a soda from a vending machine might be, but maybe those couple seconds will let you kind of talk to them and see what's going on, right? So now you say, hey man, I see that, you're not acting like you normally are, and I'm just trying to understand either what I did or if something happened. Well, let's just say, right? They're like, I don't want to talk about it. That now we're coming into 5, right? Which is space. You as a person need to understand that some people do not want to be talked to. Sometimes when they're going through something, as much as you're like, yeah, because I'm the type of person that overthinks, and whenever something happens, I want to fix it. And sometimes you just need to understand, hey, this person needs to be left alone, and they need to kind of go through what they're going through, right? So usually at this point, whenever I see someone's like that, right, as close as I could be, sometimes all they need to hear is, hey, I'm gonna support you, even if that means from a distance, right? So if your friend or that person in your life is at that point, then just say, hey, man, clearly you don't want to talk about it. That's completely fine with me, right? I'm not gonna invade your bubble. It is what it is. But what I will tell you is, if you need me, if you need to talk, or if you need to go do something with someone, maybe you don't really feel comfortable right now, but maybe in a couple days, just let me know, right? And now that brings us down to 6, which is patience. Just be patient, man. It's kind of difficult, and I know that it's like, especially like with me, it's kind of hypocritical for me to say, because I think I immediately jump straight back into it. Like, I'll give them a couple hours and I'm like, hey, are you good now? But sometimes patience is key. Give them that day, give them that week, give them that month, give them whatever they need, because at the end of the day, you don't know what they're going through. And if they don't really feel comfortable, then, all you're doing is you're making it worse. Now, that is worst case scenario, but hear me out. If you give them that patience, it's 2 things are going to happen. And I think life is always by 3 choices, but for the most part, 2 choices happen, right? It's either A, they never speak to you again because you made a mistake, and that's okay, right? You're going to live and learn from your mistakes. Or they're going to come back to you. Well, I guess it is 3 options. They're going to come back to you and let you know, hey, it wasn't you, but this was going on in my life, and this is why I was doing that. Okay, that's understandable, and you need to be ready to accept them, acknowledge them, and bring them back into your life. Now, 3, you made a mistake, right? It happens. And it's okay, right? It's up to the person how they feel, and it's up to you how you feel, because you don't really know why they're acting that way. Maybe you don't know how to take constructive criticism, or maybe you don't know how to act whenever you make a mistake. It's completely okay, but it's about owning up to your mistakes and owning up to the things that you did, right? So if they come up to you and they say, hey, you hurt my feelings because of this, you're not gonna go off. And again, I can relate. You're not gonna go off on them and be like, well, no, it's because you did this, you did that. That's gaslighting. Don't do that, right? Again, whenever you want to make someone happy, you need to make them their own superhero in their own life, right? Give them that superpower. Just be quiet. Just listen to them and go back through those 6 steps and do it again. But now, instead of you watching them, now let them watch you, right? Your body language, right? Instead of kind of like having your shoulders down, or maybe like making these faces, or be like, whatever, like, I don't care. Look at them straight in the eyes and be like, okay, I'm listening to you, right? When you get to attitude, as soon as they tell you, hey, you made a mistake, or you know what, second option, this person made a mistake, you don't instinctively go off to, you know what, screw that person, or like, no, you just don't understand. Like, no, really, look at them with a good attitude and be like, you know what, I'm an open ear. Because half the time, people don't want to have a conversation. People just want to be heard. They just want to hear exactly what's going on. Right? Now it goes to attention. It goes back to the same thing. And I learned this from this one guy, and I wasn't too happy with him when he told me, but he sat me down and he's like, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And, as messed up as it sounds, it's the truth, right? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So use your 2 ears before you decide to use your 1 mouth, right? So if they tell you something you don't like, let them finish. Or maybe someone did something to them. Don't go instigate. Don't be like, oh yeah, I always knew that this person was like this. Because all you're doing is you're just showing them the type of person you are. And you don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that sits there, listens to them, acknowledges them, and helps them, instead of making the situation worse. Now, we're back at step 4, but now it's yours, right? You're the person in control of communication. And again, all of these intermingle. I mean, as you've seen in the video, all of these intermingle. But communication in the right way, right? Don't be cursing at them. Don't be mad at them. Or don't be talking bad about someone else, because they notice that, right? whenever I look at people, because I'm very observant, whenever I look at people, I always look, are you going to talk bad about someone else? And how are you going to talk about them? Because realistically, whenever I make a mistake, you're going to talk about me the exact same way, right? Don't be that person. Now, space. Let's say you guys had this full conversation about either A, you, or B, someone else, and the conversation is over. They vented. They're done. They don't feel it anymore. Give them space. Do not try to continue. But remember what we talked about yesterday? Or, hey, remember when we talked about that one thing? Forget about it. Just let it go. If you made the mistake, fix your error. If it was someone else's mistake, they were just venting, right? And then, now we're back to 6, back to patience. Have patience with that person to work through whatever they're working through. I think that this video was, do they seem distant? And yeah, they're going to be distant if they're going through something, right? But it's about who you are and how you support that person and whether you care about them. And, I mean, that's all I can really say. I mean, if you're in a relationship and she doesn't want you, man, either A, you made a mistake, or you're, too good for them. And you need to be okay with that. You need to be okay with not being okay. And I think that's what this channel is going to be about. It's the perfection and the imperfection. We're going to learn. I mean, just like you guys are going to watch me, I'm going to learn with you guys. Like, hey, I'm going to make mistakes. And I'm not the perfect human. I think over time, you guys are going to realize that I'm far from the perfect human. But guess what? I'm here. And I'm willing to be that voice for people, right? So, thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys tune into the next video. Please give me your constructive criticism in the comments. Like, subscribe, and see you guys on the next one.